Now, you had a fantastic piece in the Oz on Chris Bowen and Anthony Albanese's unaffordable green dream being blacked out by reality. You ask why the Prime Minister's price gouging czar isn't asking energy companies why they were cashing in on the misery of Victorians last Tuesday as much of Melbourne was plunged into darkness. It is curious, isn't it, that this sector seems to have, well, its own rule book.
Yeah, well, the prices go through the roof whenever there's a shortage of electricity. And it's understandable that it should do that because that attracts new people in with more supply, because it means that there is some chance for the companies to game this by not producing electricity when they might be able to run it down and then to put it in when it runs high. But at the end of the day, this market needs fixing because it's the consumers that pay in the end. And we just can't have a system where in the middle of the day, the wholesale price is negative sometimes. And at the end of the day, it can go up well over $1,000 a megawatt hour. It's a very messy system, and it's been made much, much worse by the introduction of so much renewable energy. And it's squeezing out the base load, of course, which is the coal, which is the stuff we actually need to keep the lights on. It's getting worse month by month, and Bowen's policy is driving it really downhill.
And consumers just have no idea how it all works. It is just so complicated. It's almost designed for the consumer not to understand precisely what's happening. You also wrote about the collapse of the steel towers on Victoria's main transmission line. You said that was irrefutable evidence our current transmission network needs upgrading. You're arguing that before we spend all this money building another 10,000 kilometres of transmission lines, perhaps we should be maintaining the existing lines. That's not a very popular argument at the moment.
Well, I mean, you could just see 6 towers came down. They kind of buckled in the wind. They're clearly not up to the job. I think they've been there for some decades, but they need strengthening because that's Victoria's main transmission line we're talking about. And if that goes down, as it did, a lot of people and a lot of businesses are inconvenienced. So the idea we stick another 10,000 kilometres up, and just keep building it. No, let's get those ones firmed up first. And if they're going to build new ones, and I don't think they really have to if they had a sensible energy policy, but if they want to, then what about putting them underground, out of the way, where the farmers, as the farmers and the people in those communities want them to? They're not going to get blown down in the wind that way. And it may be a little bit more expensive initially, but if you want these things to last, it probably could be cheaper in the end. I'd like to see that being one of the lessons that came out of last week's collapse of half the Victorian electricity grid.
And it won't be soiling the countryside either. I mean, you just see beautiful vistas ruined by these transmission lines, and it's only going to get worse.